Motherhood is an awesome and priceless journey, and there is simply no one right way to experience it. Mothers are naturally equipped with deep-seated sacrificial love. Selflessness and nurturing are innate attributes that flourish when most mothers step into this mothering role. As with life, it has its ups and its downs, heartaches and pains. But because a mother's heart is intertwined with the heart of God, she dries her tears and perseveres to love above and beyond the temporary place of pain. Our participants, grandmothers, mothers, daughters, son, are expressing their true feelings about mothers and motherhood.
I guess I would like to start the discussion. Everybody's a mother except Jalen and Michael. And Michael. So your experience first, what did it feel like? I guess the question is, what did it feel like when you became a mother?
For me, it felt like this is the opportunity for me to get it right. Everything that I thought I did not get, she wasn't going to have to experience what I did. So I was going to get it right. That was my initial thing. To fill in the gaps where I was missing.
Okay.
What I was being raised.
My initial feeling when I had my son was that now I would have someone who will love me and who cannot leave me.
I need to sit next to you because
He was born out of wedlock, and my husband died in Vietnam 6 months after we were married, and so I was desperately looking for someone to love me. And then when I got pregnant, my thought was, well, he can't leave me. I have someone who can't leave me, and that was my initial thought, that he would love me and he wouldn't leave me.
Well, I'll piggyback off of that one because I even wrote a letter when I had Michael Aaron, because I early on in my marriage I felt lonely, and so I got married in '77. In '79 he was born. I was elated, and just like Julie, it wasn't about what I did. I wasn't going to let him or John feel the pain that I felt from my parents. They were going to know that I loved them. And then it was taking a place, like you said, I know that he's going to love me automatically. He's going to hold on to me. He's going to want me. And see, when Michael Aaron was born, they used to say he was a mama's boy because he wouldn't go to anybody. I was just as happy. I was glad that he didn't go to nobody because it meant that he wanted me. I mean, he was all mine and could nobody take him away, and he was too little to tell me what I couldn't do. But then the other one comes along, and let's see, when John came, he was walking, but he was real little. And what scarred me, he showed me some rejection because I don't know if it was, this is kind of crazy. Before Julie had Mimi and I had John, when I came to show her John, she's really big, so she took John and put him on her stomach, and she was holding him like that. So when this little boy comes out, he's a little bit walking. Who's your mama, Julie? I thought you don't get rejection from your children, especially this early in life. That kind of really hurt, but then my brain knew that he was only a baby. I mean, I joke with him now, I guess, about that, but and because everything about him it wasn't like Michael. Michael clinged to me. John did not, and it wasn't about him not wanting me. It was more about him. He was like what did my mom say? He was an aggressive child. He was an adventurous child. He wanted to find out things. And if this one didn't want to do nothing wrong. The other one, if mom tells him no, I got to find out anyway. I'll take the chance of getting a whooping, but I'm going to do my thing. So you grow up and I'm a child myself because I'm only 21 or 22. You're sitting here learning. Okay, what does this mean? It's taking me back to 6 years old. It shouldn't feel like this. I didn't feel any anger, I don't think, toward John, but I did feel like I really felt like he was separated from me. But then I also know that when I carried him, he and I were going through a lot. And when I had him, what he did not know, I was trying to have him naturally. And because I had Michael's C-section, they were trying to let me, but they said no because I had him right behind him. So I was in a lot of pain. I did go in labor. I wasn't supposed to go in labor. Went in the labor. They cut my old C-section out. I was not dead. And when they did that, I felt all that. So when they brought him to me and laid him on me, I turned my head. And I, in a sense, rejected him because of my pain, but not rejected him because of my mom. And I think he kind of felt that. I mean, you feel that stuff when you're little. So there's my long story about my mothering.
Okay, very interesting. Just a little background information about me. My mother married when she was 14. Back in the day, women got married early in the South in Alabama, and she was 14, and my father was 24. And I was born when she was 15, and my father left Alabama because he murdered a white man. And so he had to leave. And my mother, after birthing me, left me and didn't go with my father, but she came to Chicago. My father and his family went to New Jersey. That's why you had to get out of the South when you kill a white man. Took me a while to understand that. That was rejection. And then my mother leaving, another form of rejection. So we came together again at the age when I was 6. My grandmother, being in the South, we had no electricity. We had an outhouse. You young folks don't know what an outhouse is, but you didn't have a toilet or bathroom on the inside of your home. Little house, you go out in the back, with the snakes and all, and in the darkness. So that was gloom and doom for me, So coming here, my mother was another person. My grandmother was my mom. So in my mind, feeling abandoned, feeling the rejection, dejection, you name it, my goal, having a child, was to give me a sense of purpose, give me, to empower me and make me, and sanction me with womanhood. I felt it, as you mothers know, it's all experimental. We have all these ideas, but it's experimental. Because it happened once we have them, then, But my goal, having a child, I hit it. I hit that goalpost. That's what I wanted to do. Now I feel like a real woman. Yeah, okay? So I'll just stop there because I can't. That was it for me.
Anybody else?
So I think, like the doctor just said, I myself too, it was like Kahari, validated me as a woman. My mother, like the doctor, my grandmother kind of raised me during, I think, the impressionable years of my life. And when things were really rough, grandma stepped in. So grandma was mother for me. Mother was there, but grandma was mother for me. And so having Kahari, I just felt like it's going to be so different. And I've always wanted boys. I've never wanted little girls because of my experiences with my mother. I just was like, no, I'm not going to employ. So no girls, Lord, please, no girls. And God was faithful. I had 8 girls. But that boy, I know it's something about having that son. It's like, oh, man.
Yes.
He's going to do well. He's going to be educated. He will always smile and I won't suppress his voice. Now, those were my dreams.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I did because I was so overbearing and too protective. So I did suppress his voice, and that kind of had collateral damage for me when he became a teenager. He pushed away and went to T.O.'s mom, and so that sent me into a really deep depression. But having him was just like, oh Lord, thank you. And it was a boy. I was like, life just can't get any better.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. Celeste.
How did I feel when I had my son?
Outside the pain.
I wanted a baby. Didn't know what I was gonna do with a baby. I wanted a baby. I think that it was kind of piggybacking off what you said. That's your staple, like, oh, I made it. And it was my sense of family. Like, this is my son. I can raise him how I want to do. I can do these things with him, like, because I'm big on holidays. So then it was, now I can set into place what I want to do with my family. Like, this is, I had to say so, I had a voice. So that's, I guess, how I felt when I had my son. And I want a boy, so I got my boy. But yeah, it was, I guess, a sense of I made it. This is, you know, and I can dictate something. I have a voice for something.
Is that because you were feeling lack?
Yeah, I'm a very outspoken person, but when it comes like around my family, not so much, because everybody in that family is very outspoken, with the exception of my mom. But everybody else always got something to say, so I got something to say, and I got a kid, so I can say what I want to say for my kid and be heard. I guess a little like that.
That's kind of crazy because it sounds like, well, nobody tells us, but it's like we're getting a piece of property. And we're actually, which is probably kind of not good for them.
That's true.
But I'm trying to fulfill something in me with this child, and it doesn't work. It backfires, like she says. It backfires because when they get older and they say things and they cannot express, you know, they are skeptical about expressing how they really feel. I think this one has never really done it. But me and my baby John, we butted heads sometimes. And he speaks his mind. He's outspoken. And one time he just said, could you just not talk about Jesus all the time and talk to me as your son? That hurt, but that made me understand. I'm trying to do a generational thing. I'm going to put Jesus down your throat. I'm going to put Jesus down your throat instead of allowing Jesus to work through me and him come to meet Jesus on his own. I mean, just a lot of things that, like she said, overprotected. I was that. I mean, I hear Julie when she's up with Mimi standing at the door. What husbands don't know, they don't do. They don't care if they hear that door. We did not go to sleep. They may not have known that we were awake. But until you hear the key latch and you go inside and in the bed, that's when we finally go to sleep.
Yes.
I'm so glad those years are over, Lord. Because your kids really don't understand unless you sit down and have this type of conversation with them, which I tried to do. But I still know that even though I tried to do it when they were younger, it didn't take.
It's not real until it's real.
It's not real until that's right. Until it's real, and then they send you some little gifts that says, "Oh my God, Mom, you were right."
You're welcome.
So, Mimi, how did you feel?
I think with Jalen, because of the relationship with his father was so horrible, I think at first I was scared. Only because I grew up in a 2-parent home and not being able to give him what I had. So I think that put me into overdrive to give him, or to be able to provide for him, everything that I had for 2 people as opposed to him not, the conversation with the other person not being there.
Yeah, you give a lot. A lot.
Zelita, I'm saving you for last.
When I became a parent,
With Jason.
I was overjoyed because I said, this is something that I created, this is mine. And I wanted the best for my kids. I was going to love on them as much as I could, knowing that they were going to love me back unconditionally. And that's how I felt when I had. And I wanted a boy and a girl. So since I had the boy first, I was looking forward to the girl. And God granted that to me. So I got my boy and girl, and I'm done.
I need to talk to God because I asked him that too.
Can I piggyback on everything what you said? I hear, I could be wrong, but I hear a certain common theme. You know, the love and all, but I hear all of us try to construct and build and arrange how we wanted our engagement, our interaction with our children to be like. And with me, and I'm sure with some of the rest of you, there was a certain competitiveness that emerged because I'm gonna show my mom. That's what I felt. Sure, I know how to mother. Okay, she rejected me. She abandoned me. But I'm gonna make up all that. I'm gonna show her and all the rest of them how it should have been done until that baby came and life started for me. And I wanted to run. Okay? Yeah, okay. When the real life hit.
I agree with that. I think mine was the same thing, but I didn't have any issues with my mom, but I wanted to show my mother and my father, y'all didn't stay. I'm staying there. I'm not going to let these boys feel what I feel. I'm going to throw myself onto them. Now, I'm talking about me. And, phew, sorry, y'all. What you're not told, I mean, you're going in and it's all you. It's your pain, you're this, you're that. And then you go get this man and you marry him. And it's your idea, but you don't know his story. And so, the beginning of our marriage, my children, I'm raising them. He's kind of withdrawn from them. I don't know why, not that he didn't hold them and stuff, but he wasn't giving them, I guess, how do I put this? I was looking for him to be the father that I did not have to my children. And him coming from an authoritarian home, he's unable to give my kids because his voice was silent. So he's going to do one or two things. He's either going to come hard on them and do like my father did and my father used to use his fist, and that just wasn't happening in my house. I didn't see you get a belt that worked for the girls, that worked for the boys too. So he never did that kind of thing. And I used to get mad at him when he was like, when he would raise his voice a little bit, might go really raise his voice, but when he didn't raise his voice, when he didn't discipline them. But the one time when sweet John, pushed him to the limit, and it takes a lot. He had John up against the refrigerator, and he had him like this. Man, I'm like, if this is discipline, you don't have discipline. you don't have discipline because I went into full force and I said, you know what? Because John then, and I saw this generational curse, he said, I'm leaving. Then ching, 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 he left home. I'm saying, this ain't gonna happen. So I looked at him and I said, if this boy leaves out of this house, I'm going with him. He's going with me too. This ain't gonna happen up in my house. And from that day forth, Michael has never touched him like that. But I don't know if I was right or wrong when I did that. I mean, I just, I was so adamant about we gonna have it different. We gonna show you it can work. You can stay together, and we gonna live happily ever after. Without all the nonsense in between. Yeah, right. We forgot one thing. Jesus was in the background, and it was all about us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And how do you pull the father into our arrangements, our pre-arrangements? We weren't thinking, I guess. I was thinking my husband thought like me.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, we got married, we love each other. Whatever that means. Okay, I won't go into that. Because this is being taped. Okay. But, we've constructed this perfect plan. think I couldn't take it. No, that's mine. Right. This, you didn't carry this baby, and you think I'm gonna stand here and let you beat my baby? Well, that's his son. I had to repent because it took him to raise my son after a certain age. You knew Ronnie. You know Ronnie.
Right.
Ronnie wouldn't allow anyone to hold him but his mama until I think he was like 10 years old. Then I felt a sense of rejection all over again. It's painful. Mothers, we go through a whole lot of pain and disturbances because of our own creation.
Right. But see, we don't know that.
No.
We don't know that because we're digging through by ourselves because nobody talks about it. Nobody before us, all the other women that are before us, they act like everything was all right. And there's no way. There is no way, especially with the men that they have, because we're just now experiencing the men coming out of that. Yes. I think I got one that still got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. But anyway, you got both sides want to be this, but you still got a little bit of that on it, but the next generation is not like that. But then, how do you carve the next generation to, one, not present whatever you didn't like about your mother to Tayshawn, meaning whatever you didn't like about your mother to Jalen. Because I'm going to say this, meaning when I hear you talk, I kind of don't hear Julie. I don't remember Julie but you sound like my mom. My mom talked to us just like I hear you talking to them, and I could not take it. And when I heard myself, sounded like my mom one time when they were in the kitchen getting ready to go to school. Why aren't you ready to go to school? No. And I wasn't mad at them, but I was talking to them like that, and I heard, you sound like your mom. Baby, the next day, y'all know when y'all came over with the church music was on? The praise music, because I got up before y'all came in. I put that praise music on, and I let it play, calm me down, and let me go, okay, go, because when you don't feel like getting up in the morning. So you let this praise music on for a few hours, they come over, they go sit back and sing. Now, they made fun of it. They called us the hospital. Why are we going to listen to that? I said, you need to listen to that. It needs to be on. Just trust me. Go along with me right now, because I'm trying not to do, but I knew if you really look at it, it's like when you hear those things, it's God saying, I'm going to reverse this curse and move the generational curse off of you. So I was intentional about not sounding like my mom to my kids. Yes. Now, you can only speak because I'm not in your house, how your mom sounds to you. But when I hear her now on the phone, she's very, she explains everything, but she doesn't sound like, I told you, and I'm going to go with another one. Remember you were at my house. Now, can I say this because I grew up on Dante? Not with you. It's like every time I went to your house, and I don't know if your mom was talking regular or not, but it was always like, it sounded like she was fussing. So one time, they were at my house, and I heard them talking to each other, and she sounded like that to her, and I don't know where I got the boldness, because I did get boldness when I said it. I said something to you, I said, you sound just like your mother did. And I think at that point, you wrote me something back, and you told me thank you, because you didn't want to sound like that. But it's almost like it's like God puts things, sounds, anything. Somebody did pray for you, even though you don't know that they were praying. And the prayers have to go forth. Even if you're not feeling, if you're going through the valley, if you're whatever, those prayers are still going to get you. And I know my grandmother got us up every day before we went to school. That was the first time that I even experienced that. When we came over here, we was on our knees, wasn't we? First thing in the morning, you don't even brush your teeth, you slide down on your knees with her by our side, saying a prayer. And so when I sit here and you take the puzzle pieces and you start putting them together, you start seeing the works of God and the finger of God on your life from the beginning. Yes. So when we're in tears sometimes and say, well, God, you're not here. Oh, yes, he is. Yes, he is, because you have to be intentional about, I want to hear you. Yes. Because there have been so many people that come on your path, they're not accidental. When you walk in the line at the grocery store, you're not there by accident.
You're not there by accident. There's a purpose for you and that person, and we have to be intentional with God. If there's something that you want me to say, do you want me to give a smile? You got a beautiful smile.
Yes,
Do you want me to smile at that person?
Yes.
Do you want me to just say hi? I had a time when people pass me, I'm not saying hi, I'm not saying anything. I'm walking my head down like that because of my rejection and me feeling. It wasn't nothing about them. Now I find myself walking around the park saying hi, how you doing? And then if I'm behind somebody, I say, God, I don't know what this person needs, but I'm praying for them.
Yes.
You know all of their needs, whatever it is, but I'm going to take a moment and pray for the person from the crown of their head to the sole of their feet. Do it. Whatever request. And if it's not even their request, if it's their grandmother's request, I'm still saying, okay, God, that chord, I'm still hearing, you know, the line, it's not even, we don't use that line anymore. What is the cell phone? The wireless connection.
All right.
The wireless connection is still connected from way back when somebody's grandmother prayed. Great grandmother, somebody's descendant prayed. It's like I truly believe that those prayers are still working now.
Yes.
It's just that, I hate to say this, somehow the church doctrine got in the way where you can't hear them. You can't hear the prayers or recognize that it's God. Because it's like, well, I didn't do this. But like if you fall. If you fall and you okay, I'm going to give Michael Aaron's story. And I wish I would have known this when he was in grade school because I would have corrected it. He said that he was at school playing football or something. And he said a curse word. He thought he was going to hell. He was like crying and sad. I'm like, no, come on. But then I might have said, and when he came home, well, you shouldn't have said it. I don't know at that point when I said it, but I know I wasn't where I am now. But that's the kind of teaching. If you make a mistake, I can't come to the church and tell the church, you know what, I made this mistake. I said a curse word, and Jesus gonna take me out now. You know what they should have been telling me that when he died for my present sins, my past sins, and my future sins. If he died for my future sins, that tells me that I'm going to make a mistake again.
Yes.
But it's all taken care of.
Yes.
And we don't have to keep on pushing it. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God.
Praise
God.
God.
So, if we could just embrace who we are. If, you know, I like to play a game. I know people probably think I'm crazy, but I don't care because if it got me out of the depressed state that I was in, if I get to be not from around here, he told me that for years, I'm receiving it. I ain't from around here. My body may be, but my spirit is not from around here. And I keep feeding my spirit because I'm hungry. I'm hungry because I know there's something better than what we've already had. You see what I'm saying? I know that the key that he initially put down here is not the key that I walked in. Come on. But what I'm saying is to reach that place. You guys, sometimes I'm here and I'm dancing around because I can get back into the natural because I live in the natural, and I know they say natural first and whatever. I don't like the natural, so I don't do that. I like the spiritual thing, so I get to be around my house dancing because it is really real. If we can ignite with that spirit that he said, this is what I gave you. This is what it looks like. He said, oh, wow, this is what he gave me this morning, too. He said, I know the plans that I have for you. Praise God. He said, but when you came down here, your father and mother had some plans, and they placed them on you. He said, I want you to come on back because my plans are still valid. I can still give them to you. I am they're freely yours. All of those plans are yours. He said, this is how I want you to be. I know what your purpose is. And guess what? It's peaceful. It's not with harm. Well, God, you know, the church told me that if I'm going through this, that God ordained it. No, I did not ordain it. He said, because you live in a sinful world, so somebody made the wrong choice somewhere, but I did make a way out for you. And if we don't get an opportunity to study, to show ourselves, not to hear what the pastor said, Mother Spaghetti said, Sister so-and-so said, I don't care what they say. Because this is an individual walk. And that's the first thing you have to know. It's an individual walk. When you walk with him and you talk to him, your issues, your mothering, your everything that has weighed you down, they start to subside, they dissipate. They start to, because you start seeking him. And when you start seeking him, and you know, back in the day, seeking him meant for me to get on my knees, get in front of the church, and let the rub on my back tell me to talk to the Holy Spirit. Now, people might get mad at me because I kind of disagree that I have to get the Holy Spirit like that, because he said me and my Father are one, and he said we're a Trinity, so somebody has to tell me if Jesus is coming, why the Holy Spirit ain't there. Somebody has to tell me that. Now, the manifestation of it may be talking in tongues, but does everybody have to talk in tongues? I never saw my grandmother talk in tongues, and I do believe my grandmother is in heaven. Okay, so I just think that if we can get off of the page, and I know it doesn't sound like we're talking about mothering, but it all fits in.
It does.
It all fits in. If we can get off the page of what the church said it should look like, and get on the page, said, God said, ask me. Just ask me. Ask me on your own. Ask me what you should look like as his mother. Ask me what you should sound like as her mother. Ask me what you should do when you have this child. You know, I did give my kids over to God when they were little, and they started crying as I was giving them away. But I was trying to break generational curses that I knew that were in our family. And that man thing of going around having babies and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, I don't want my kids to do that. I don't want them to. I want them to have a family and do this stuff. I said, Lord, I give them back to you. Once they start crying, and I had to explain to them, it's not that. It's I'm telling God to teach me how to teach you. And again, not dogging my husband, but I think we've talked about it. His absence, even though he was present here, which I do believe it weighed in because he is here. But his lack of communication it made me work harder. You know, so I had to. I say this. I felt like I was the mother and the father, even though I can't be the father. I can't be. I know there are little stories that I shouldn't have been the one to know these little stories. My heart had been strong enough to tell the stories because they were telling me the stories that, you know, a mother's gonna say, no, my kid's not doing that or whatever. But his absence of not talking to him on their own. I mean, I just got older to understand it, but I never understood why I can call him and say, how you doing? And what's going on? And why he couldn't. But then, did that happen in his family? When I look at his family and I look at our family, you would think all of us were separated. All of them were together. We talk a whole lot more than I've seen, maybe not the rest of them, than I've seen him talk to his family. So it's like even having the weight of, and I talked to my sister about what's going on tonight, you know, that wasn't there. It was just like this secret place that I need you to speak because I'm feeling a little like I don't want you to get me when I get off the tape. I mean, if I'm wrong, you can go ahead and tell me, but or you can interject in why it was like that. How did you, you know, because they asked me questions. I know John has said a lot of times, I wish Dad had talked to us more. Not that they dislike him or anything, but it was some things that they gone through that they needed him.
Yeah, I mean, again, I came from a family where we just didn't have a voice to say a lot of stuff, and it could cause problems if you say the wrong thing. So when I got married and had kids, I had a tendency, I could either go the authoritarian way and be overbearing, like my father was very, he was a harsh disciplinarian, and or I could move back, and I chose to move back, which probably wasn't a good thing. I should have been more present. And then there was another component of that I was working a lot. I mean, I was working all sorts of shifts, working 2 jobs, things like that. And but I should have been more present. And that incident that she was referring to, where me and John got into it, that was one of those rare moments when my father came out of me. And I went the authoritarian way, which I shouldn't have done. Matter of fact, if I remember correctly, that was a Friday that next day, I took Michael and John out to breakfast, and I told them, I'm never gonna do that again. I should not have did that. I was frustrated. Something was going on, but I said my role as your father is going to change from more of a coach. And so we had that conversation, and I think that was the first and last time that we had that negative interaction. But it has a lot to do with how we were raised, and everybody's journey is a little different. So when we need to have more premarital counseling, talks about how when you react to something in your marriage or in your relationship, it really has a direct relationship to how you were raised. You're reacting to something, something triggers you, and many times people don't even identify it, but there's a reason why you react over the top or why you said something. And sometimes Cheryl and I've had interaction, and I would think to myself, why did I respond like that? Why did I go over the top? But again, it's usually something that from your past that you need to identify.
So, okay, now, you guys, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna let you guys talk because I can go. Okay. How do, as a mother, I needed to know. With me, I haven't heard it too much from you. And matter of fact, you guys share what you feel about your mother raising you. Jalen, too. Huh? As far as what? I mean, there were some things you disliked, right?
I mean, my mom slept all the time, but I sleep all the time too. So.
Okay.
I don't have like no real issues because I mean, it takes you getting older to really realize what's going on. So
What did your younger self do?
That's what I'm.
So my younger self, like I wish we could have did more things. Like we did. We used to have a ritual that we would go to the movies on Saturday. But because she worked nights, like it was kind of hard for her to like get out and do more things with us and being a single parent. And both of our fathers really not being around. Like mine definitely wasn't. My brother's was, but more so like holidays and breaks and stuff. So here it is, a woman that's taking care of 2 kids on her own. And so, yeah, we wanted to get out and go and do stuff, but, you know, she would sleep all the time because she was working nights. So when she did, it was like, yay, we finally get to do something. Or, no, we wasn't just at grandma's house or whatever because she had to work nights. So as a child, that for me, the only thing that I wanted to do was just do more stuff with my mama. But getting older, like I understand now because being a single parent, you get it.
Have you changed that with your child?
So, but I do want to do things with him. But for me, being in the same predicament as being a single parent, one, finances, two, just having to take the job that I had to take to be able to provide for him. Like, yeah, I was working nights, or I had a minimum wage job. So no, I couldn't necessarily do it. And he spent a lot of time between my grandmother's house and my mother's house so that I could be able to work. So yeah, it's kind of relevant. It's kind of the same. I want to do more stuff with him now, but he was gonna get his grades together, and I'm stickler about grades. So you can do that, then I can do my part.
But do you dissect that? See, you're saying what you felt when you were little. Do you ask him what he feels now that it's being you're doing the same thing to him?
So I talk to him, but kids give you pushback. They don't really want to talk, or they feel like the whole thing you said. I don't remember what you're talking about, but saying that she was pretty much barking at me and I bark at him. So it is a whole situation of nah. So yeah, he don't want to talk to me because he feels as though I'm going to always be on him or just always have something to say. Like, you know, recently he sent me a text message. Well, instead of you always tell me what I'm doing wrong, why don't you tell me what I'm doing right?
So why would you not listen to that?
But I do tell him what he's doing right.
No, you got to listen to what he's saying. You may tell him, but there's something somewhere that's touching something in him for him to say that. You see what I'm saying? Can I piggyback on that? Because he also told me that, did my mom tell you I did good? Did my mom tell you I got my grades up? I said,
No, she didn't. Yeah, she always tells you when I mess up. So I only say that because of what she brought for you to dissect and listen. So obviously, maybe I did it to you, I don't know.
Yes.
But I know my mom definitely did it to me. She never told me when I did anything for her. She always told me when I did stuff bad. And that has affected me. So you have a chance to change it with your son.
I think I do better. Like, because, you know, we get the grades come straight to the phone, so he got that D up in health that went up to an A, and I saw it, so I immediately texted him, like, I see what you're doing, keep up the good work. And then the other grades was coming up as they were coming in, I'm like, I see what you're doing, keep it up, or whatever. I was like, we just need to work on this biology grade.
I felt like I should have known because he's asking me to do something, and I'm saying, no, you gotta talk to your mother. You always get in trouble, and she, you know, you do this, that, and that. Well, did she tell you so? Did she tell? I said, no, she did. Okay.
You know, I'm hearing that there is sort of a breach in our configuration of who we want to become as mothers when we're faced with those kinds of issues. With me, there was a breach. I told God, I'll never be like my mama. you know, my mother, being young, she other children. She died recently last year, and I was the only child by her first husband. She married 3 times, and so she never attached or connected with me. Connected with the others, even though when I was 6 years old, my grandmother, we all lived in the same house, but my grandmother, my nickname is Donna Flo. There was a cow made in the year I was born, 1948, of Uric, and it was the top line, the Dinah Flo, Uric. And so my grandmother gave me that name. So I thank her for it. Yeah. But there is a breach. I've seen it when I was raising my daughter. I said, I never, my mother called me the B word often. She was frustrated, young woman. I understand all that as I got older. Like you said, when you get older, man, yeah, I'm surprised I wasn't called more than that. With the trials and all the things you go through, life is a trip. It's a trip. I began to really connect and love my mother the older I got, more experience I had with man I thought I loved. I mean, I did. You do. You grow to really, truly love. I think initially it's just kind of an infatuation. I'm just saying it for me. Now, you all may have really been truly in love. I don't think we really know what the love is. Love is, okay. I've been married 46 years, so I'm just saying. Now I know. I love Ron Blumenberg, but back then, So there's a breach that occurs that makes me uncomfortable. There's a discomfort that occurs because, hey, I said I wasn't going to do what Gwendolyn did. Then I found myself repeating those behaviors. We live what we learn. Right. But as you said, the dissection, the analyzing and dissecting has to come into play. We still have a chance to make it right.
Isn't that the part of seeking him out, to know the difference? To know the difference of where you are. I think that's the only thing that you can do to get past the environment that you've been placed in.
We need mentors. We need people like you, Cheryl. We need venues like this. The secret's out there. It's so powerful. It doesn't happen. Nobody wants to know the real story behind. You don't want people to know what happened in your life. I don't want people to know that or expose my negativity. We don't want, but the secret has to come out if we're going to be better.
In this day and time, how will you get delivered unless I know the story?
I think your kids will subliminally tell it.
Yes.
The kids are gonna tell. So whether they act it out, whether they tell it out, or whether you go get them out of jail or bury them, the kids are gonna tell the dysfunction one way or the other.
What are we doing now?
I'm
talking about my mama. Her dysfunction. Come on.
That's good.
Yeah. That's powerful. What you just said.
Yep. We
You
waiting
looking at
on,
Mimi.
we waiting on screaming Mimi.
Come on, Mimi.
I guess as a little girl, I always saw my mother at work. She had 2 jobs. As we grew into, as I grew into a teenager, well, I was always here for sure. And I think I didn't talk to my mother. I don't even really know why I didn't, but I felt more comfortable here or saying stuff to Cheryl or bouncing things off of Cheryl. I know it did get to a point where I know I would talk to her about stuff and then I would get mad because I would hear from, or I would hear whatever I talked about with her through her sister. And that made me shut down.
That was your mom.
I know, but, but she was there then. I think with high school, things changed with us because I think I wanted to do more, and she was holding. I don't know if she was necessarily holding us from doing stuff, or it was more we weren't doing what we were supposed to do, and we took it as, oh, she just don't want us to do nothing. She just want us to stay in the house. But
Yeah, cause I'm waiting, I want to hear him talk next.
this is what I want you to know is why, but everything you do. But I mean, me and my mother have had blowouts, and to the point where I just would not talk to her at all, and I would turn to, let me back up. Brandon got here, that went out the window. Let's just be honest with that. I remember that. So, I mean, and then at that point, I felt like I was just another person in my house. But going into high school, I felt like I didn't get the choices that I wanted to do. Like I didn't want to go to a private high school where it was all girls, and then turn around. Brandon comes to high school, and he got to go where he wanted to go. He went all the way out to Aurora, living on campus. I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm really just that child then. So I mean, I think just being rebellious with all that stuff is how I was looking for love in different places and became pregnant with Jalen. And from that point on, I had to try to be better than what she was. That was me. I didn't want him to feel like he wasn't a part, he didn't have a place, none of that with them being only 3 years apart, me and Brandon 3.5 years apart, or whatever it is. I didn't want them ever to feel like, oh, you were just that child, you were just the first child. Now I got a new baby in the house, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, I think I talk about every day. I don't know where the change came. I think we both just needed to pray about it and just, me, I had to just let things go.
Yes.
And I think it was the same thing for her. I think she dealt with some things in her childhood that she was holding on to and wanted to strive to have with me. And I was just giving her that backlash. And all of it just unfolded like it did. Now I guess it's
Can I ask Jalen, and you tell me your story? I just like your mother said how she felt. How do you feel? Or should I ask me this? Do you think you succeeded of being better than your mom? That's the first question.
In some areas, yes, in other areas, no.
Okay, Jalen, do you think your mother succeeded?
In some areas, yes.
Okay, I don't want you to repeat what your mother said. You're not going to give me a whooping. I'm just playing. No, tell me how you felt.
Being younger, my mom was mostly working, and my disciplinarian was my grandmother. Whenever anything happened between me and my brothers, somebody get in trouble, it was my grandmother who disciplined us, who really shaped how we were supposed to act.
Can I stop you for 1 second? Do you all see the same story?
Yes.
Julie is now
who I was to her.
Different characters, but same story.
Same story.
So we were really living with our grandparents for most of my childhood, and I felt like my mom wasn't really there a lot. I really like to. We spent a lot of time together growing up, like as a family, as a collective. And so when like it was time, like I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, when I started to become a teenager, we didn't really go out anymore. I wanted to go out, like, Ma, I want to do something. I want us to go out and have fun. But it was like, she started dating. And I was like, I understand that, but I felt like she was putting more time into her dating life than she was into, you know, spending time with us. And that really, like, pulled away from our connection. So when we moved out, you know, I didn't really have my grandmother anymore. I mean, I could call her, yeah, but it wasn't the same as having her in the house to, like, settle disputes between me and my mother. And I was the buffer. And so, like, over these last years, my mom been butting heads constantly. And I felt like how she was saying, it felt like she just don't want to let us do anything. Like she want to keep us in the house. Like I feel like I'm on constant lockdown. So I feel like
that
that's
was the fact that when I said that, it might have just been that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do in that. Freaking up. I just said.
but I feel like I wanted more from her. And that caused me to like now I just like okay, so a big problem that we have is that I go out without telling her things just for the fact that I feel like it's better if I just go out and not tell her where I'm going than to ask and she may say no and then I disobey her blatantly. So I don't know. I feel better by doing it that way.
Wow.
Another thing is it's really hard to communicate to her, especially that the way that our connection, like I don't see her as a person that I would come to just talk about anything. So I talk to Tony. I talk to Tony a lot. Like we have long conversations, you know, hour, 2 hours. I go over and talk to him, and I can really like tell him basically anything. I don't have to worry about it. It's no judgment. It's more like guidance and you know advice on what I should do, but not saying like you have to do this. It's not discipline. My uncle.
Okay.
This is something that happened I believe a few months ago. I had something that I really need to talk to somebody about, and so I wanted to talk to Tony. So I was planning to go to Tony, and my mom called me. She asked where I was going. I said I was going over to my uncle's house to go talk to him. And she was like, "For what?" I was like, "I gotta tell him something." She's like, "Tell him what?" And I was like, "It's something that I don't really feel comfortable talking to you about, and that I would rather talk to him about it." Because it's like some things you would talk to your mom about, but some things that are a little too personal that feels weird in type of situations. And so I told her this, and she kind of felt a way about it, and was like, whatever, bye, and was trying to hang up on me. And I called her back, and I was like, I don't understand why you're mad. It's just something. It's not like I'm, trying to keep this from you. It's just something that I don't feel comfortable coming out to you to talk to you about. And I was like, I sat there wondering, like, was I wrong? I even called my grandmother to ask, like, did I do something wrong in that situation? And she said that I didn't, but that it was just something about our relationship.
My feelings are hurt because I feel like I opened myself up to you, but you don't feel like you're comfortable enough to talk to me. I've never been, when you have come to me to talk about whatever you want to talk about, I've never bashed you. Never. I allow you to talk and do your thing, and I let you know what I'm not comfortable with, but there's nothing I can do with something that you've already done. So I don't mind you coming to me, but my feelings were hurt that particular time when you tell me, oh, I don't feel comfortable talking to you. And I didn't understand why.
Can I do that?
I was gonna tell her to
My feelings were hurt too. But
Yeah,
you
me
have
too.
to understand and give them the space to go talk to whoever it is. Because
I'm just explaining the situation of why I hung up and was like, whatever.
no, I'm just saying for the next time because we're gonna have another time.
Yes.
I think now with him, I'm at the point, it's like whatever he shares with me is what he shares to me. I have to let him be 18. He's now going into being dependent and being on his own. But I think with my only frustration with him now is that the simple things that I have to do in my house, I just need you to do them. Because I don't care what you do, but I need him to also understand that I work for 911, so I hear those calls.
Yeah.
So it's not me asking you or trying to track you where you are. It's more just trying to make sure you're okay. And should something happen, I know the last place you were. I don't mind you hanging with your friends.
But you know what? I thank you for saying that, Mimi. Because what you're experiencing, we all did. I used to sneak out of the house. My grandmother would go to sleep because I had a 10:30 curfew when I was a teenager. I'd go out, even after when I was going with Ron Blumenberg. He'll tell you, I'm on tape, he'll know. 10:30, my grandma said, you'd be home. He dropped me off. I make sure she was asleep. I have somebody else pick me up. And I'd be out until 3 or 4 in the morning, doing whatever I wanted to do. We all have done. I want you to get that guilt off of you. You have a lot to smile. I honor you. I honor you, young man. You are awesome. There's so much greatness in you. The fact that you can exude and say what you said. It's amazing. Amazing. I'm a former high school principal, and I have never been in the presence of a young man like you that will, in front of his mom, who would do that? My son, he's a Secret Service agent. He's 36. Ronnie wouldn't do that with me. He just wouldn't. But you took a risk. It's something really strong in you, and God has put it there. Probably prayers of Mother Powell. That made you say what you said on this morning, which is going to help your mom. Mimi, validate everything he said. He doesn't know what your thought patterns and processes are. We're saying what we went through as mothers. Am I right? Right. I used to say, Ronnie, didn't you know that? You know better. You know me. No, he doesn't. I went through the same thing. Exactly. So I had to shut it down. Listen. He's going to sneak out some more. Okay. Sometimes.
Stayed out.
Oh, you stayed out. Okay. So what I'm saying, sometimes we have to go back and say, I did that.
I always admired Julie because when Mimi would do something and I talked to her, I know I'd be up there going to try to get her. And Julie was like, well, I know what I did.
And then she would have a conversation with
There
her.
you go.
Julie would sit there and said, I know what I did. I can't, even upon her pregnancy, I was just so, how she handled Mimi's pregnancy. It's like, wow, you know, most people are going to get mad and all this kind of stuff. But she always sat down and she talked to her.
It's a blessing.
She talked to her, and I was like, okay, I can't say. I'm sitting around telling them, you come home with a baby. I don't care what kind of singing you're doing. You're working at McDonald's and you're taking care of babies. I don't, you know, I wasn't trying to go look to what. And the only reason I'm saying it because I kind of was more like the leader. I was scared to do anything compliant, so I don't have the sneak around, do the thing. Because I could, you know, I always thought Granny saw me. I always thought she was gonna know. I was gonna get right. I was the one that was going. I was the one that's gonna get caught. So my story wasn't different. So I thought you guys can't do that. But see, I didn't know his story.
Yes.
And had we been able to, you know, talk about his story, and I used to tell God, I'm like, it ain't fair, God. He did all that. Well, I got the experience with it. What he did to my kids. But no, I really, I think that you were brave enough to say what you said. But I also want you to hear your mother too, because she hears the 911 calls. When you were calling for her, it wasn't, you know, we're not trying to know the business. When I was sitting up there waiting at the door for him to come in, they tell me they're in Indiana. Who's in Indiana? Oh, we just met somebody. Who are they? I don't know who they are. You know, you trust them. But we hearing people being kidnapped or being shot, especially because you're a boy. Especially because you're a boy. I was so glad when Michael and John got past a certain age. I was thinking, well, okay, they're not gonna try to get in the game now. But you have to understand that, because I tell them don't call me, because she ain't the only one that's worried about you. One time when they said they didn't know where you were, you across the street because it was cold. I told you, do not call me anymore and tell me nothing, because I don't handle that stuff. You didn't even come from me, but I don't handle it. I go like, oh my God, you know, food.
That was first grade. I came.
First grade?
Yeah, first grade. I came home. It was a windy day, and I nobody home. Well, I didn't think anybody home. Somebody home? I didn't think somebody home. There's no cars in the driveway. I sat on the porch. I started doing my homework. The lady across the street, she said, "You look cold. It's windy. Come inside." And in there, she was just the neighbor that moved in. She had been there for a couple of years. She was babysitting some of the other neighbors. So I was like, okay. So I was just there until I think Evan came to get me. Evan came on the door. She knocked on the door.
I know that's the truth.
And so, yeah, she came to me. I was scary. Until I was retreating.
This is why I think, you know, I think from this point, you know, you guys are younger than us because our kids are older. We are older and we can sit down and talk to you all and tell you our stories. But it's our hope that when you guys are still raising your kids, that you would open up and you would be intentional about telling them your stories and talking to them so that they don't do a repeat. You know, like when you, the rejection, you know, just noticing things that happened in your life that made you feel certain things. And you're like, you know, just common conversation, you know, oh yeah, when this happened, I felt a little rejected, and I would want you all to feel like that. But I mean, it's our job as the older women to tell you guys, you might not want to do that. Not trying to be your mother. I mean, we are your mother, but you know what I'm saying. We're not trying to tell you that you don't know what you're doing. We're trying to tell you we've been there, did that, and it doesn't really get better. It's just like we're trying to tell you, do something different. Take on the coat. Put that coat on. Do something different than what we did. But if I don't tell you that I tried to do something different and it failed, then you're gonna sit up there and repeat whatever I dished out to you.
Yeah, I always tell me, remember how you felt when it was happening to you. Is that what you want to give yours? If you think about it from that perspective, you're more than likely to make a different decision when you're doing whatever it is you're doing.
Or sounding the kind of way that you're sounding. And I think the boy thing, You know, I wanted a girl. I wasn't like you. I wanted a girl and a boy, but I got two boys, and I live in a house with a bunch of men, my dogs and boys and all that. It's kind of hard. I mean, not having that girl around, but I think.
That's your baby.
No, you just told me that you shut down.
That's your
No,
baby.
you don't hear her say when she found out. But yeah, I know you are, but it's still the 24/7, and I do stay home and cry seriously because you do. Mom, you want to get your nails done? Mom, you want to go do this? I thank God for this one. He's not going to get his nails done enough, but he will since he's been back. He is with me. He drives me around and all of that kind of stuff. Yes. But man, growing up with that little girl, that's somebody to talk to, and because when they get older, they out. And when they bring that other girl in, you like this. You trying to make sure it's candy. Is she all right? And you're trying to make her perfect for her. And if you hear a little bit of holler, she hollers at you. What? That's right.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, okay.
I don't care what she got to say. She don't get to holler.
Not in my son. No.
That's my baby that I'm gonna correct everything. That's my brother.